Now,
Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
hi, welcome to Parrot TV's Literary Corner. I'm Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Today, we are going to discuss The Literary Parrot. We had a show yesterday that was quite a success, and we want to make today's show a success as well. We have Darlene Campos, Gopal Lahiri, and Antonia Petron today to discuss the book. So I'm glad you guys can join us today. How are you all doing?
Doing great.
Wonderful.
Doing fine.
We'll start off with Darlene. You can read your poem and tell us a little bit about it and what the process was in going into it.
Sure. Let me grab my copy of the anthology here.
Okay. We're discussing The Literary Parrot, which just came out August 1st. And it's a wonderful 249 pages.
So this is my poem that's in the anthology. It's titled Abuelita is 81. Abuelita is 81, but in her world, she's 35, or sometimes younger. And she can't remember if she already made her kids breakfast or if she's late to open her convenience store. Abuelita is 81, and in her mind, Abuelito is still alive. He must be working late at his dental office on a patient with an infected tooth. When her brain lets her, she can speak, so she calls out his name, but he never comes around, and for a moment, she remembers the harsh truth. Abuelita is 81, but in her world, she's young and healthy and raising a family. For now, she can live in a different era, just like the rest of us desire to.
It's a very touching poem. What is the subject? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this was a birthday gift for my grandmother's 81st birthday. My grandmother has been living with end-stage Alzheimer's for about 2 years now.
Okay.
And she doesn't know who I am. Doesn't know who I am anymore. She'll never read this poem, but I just had something in my heart that I wanted to write for her birthday. And that's where the inspiration came from.
Right, and it's been previously published. What was the publication it was originally published in?
So it was previously published in another anthology called the Heartland Society of Women Writers. So it was an anthology put together by 3 women editors who had received entries from pretty much all over the world, and they narrowed it down to about 15 people, I think. So it was another honor to have it in there, and it's an honor to have it in the Literary Parrot as well.
Right, and we included a photograph as well, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about the history of that photograph.
Yeah, so I found that photograph when I was just cleaning up photos from after my grandfather had passed away. I was, going through his file cabinet, tossing things out, keeping things, et cetera, and I came across that photo and it was labeled, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've never seen a picture of my grandmother this young before. So I have it in my possession now.
Interesting. That's quite a story there, and God bless people who are suffering from Alzheimer's, and it's a very terrible illness to have. And right now I'll pull up the photo and show the photo when I find it here. It's if I can find it. It's a nice photo, and we've included it in there, and I think it was included as well in your other publication that was published in as well. This is the photo here. If anybody, that's the photo that we were discussing in the here with Darlene. So that's the photo in the book. And thanks so much for submitting that. It's a very touching piece, and it's wonderful that we can memorialize your grandmother in that way through the anthology. And it provides quite a spark to the anthology to have something deeply personal as well as a tribute piece in there. So thank you so much for sharing that. We can move along. Thank you so much. We can move to Antonia Petrone, whose piece is also in here, if she would like to read that piece. And you're all muted, by the way, so can you unmute yourself? Unmute.
Okay. Hello.
Hello, it's nice to see you again. So you
Nice
have
to
your
be here.
piece as well in here. It's a wonderful anthology of 249 pages of work. So you can read your poem from it and do give us a little bit of background about it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dustin. I would like to also say my appreciation for Darlene, because I found her poem. I read it in the book, and I thought it was really wonderful. It's really lovely to hear people write about their relatives and their grandparents. I think it's really something beautiful. Okay, my poem is called The Inner World. And I wrote this poem during, in this period, so during the COVID period.
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks about not really physical places, but a place which is inside of us. And so that's why I called it Inner World. There are places so near, yet so far from our reach. There are moments so close, yet so distant to our eyes. There are experiences so deep, yet so alien to our universe. There is a world where places, moments, experiences meet whatever distance there may be, within the heart, a world of its own. Because I believe we have the world inside of us.
Interesting. So what prompted that? What was the process like in writing that poem?
Well, I was thinking of normally I write about places that I see. And for the first time, I wanted to write about a place that I really didn't see physically, but that I felt inside. And so that's how that's how it was born.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of an inner world inside of myself.
And so was it an instantaneous poem, or was it one that you worked on and sort of pulled out, did some editing on?
No, not really. It's quite short and it came out quite spontaneously.
So it wasn't like a real tedious poem. Sometimes poems can be, you wrestle with them quite a bit, and then sometimes they just come out and it just happens to be what you make it. It's just exactly what you want it to be. So you were pretty pleased with that one.
This is one of those that comes out just naturally without having to do much work on it.
But what are your impressions so far of what you've read in the anthology, and how do you feel about it? I mean, it's something that you're really proud to be a part of?
Yes, I really am very happy to be part of it, because I'm reading from authors from all over the world. And I think, and this is the first time, because normally for example, I live in Italy, and in our collections, there are poets, but mostly all Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And on my Facebook page, which is Antonia Poetry, I have a lot of friends from all over the world, a lot of poet friends from all over the world, which I asked for friendship, and they did as well. And seeing that I come from the States, I'm more multi-ethnic, and I like to communicate with people from all over the world. So I think this was a really a great anthology. It's really a great anthology, and it's even greater because it involves the whole world and not just one place, not just America, not just Italy, not just India, but all over the world. And I think that's wonderful. I think you guys did a real great job doing that.
Well, thank you so much. We're glad you're a part of it. So Gopal, moving on to your poem, Design, and tell us a little bit about that poem, and then you can read it for us.
Which poem?
Thank you, Dustin. And I'm very grateful that you have selected my poems here. And we have a lot of other poets are there, and I like especially this presence, global presence of poets, which Antonia has already mentioned. And regarding design, which actually it's a blend of a lot of images, and a lot of things have happened. It's as if I'm in an art room where there's a lot of paintings and art are there, works of art are there. And you have the feeling that you need to come out of that and you have your own world. So that's why the last line is important, that and I want to design my universe of green grass. So that's my way of thinking, that within that so many artifacts and arts and so many, there are inside also a lot of pains and wounds of the outer world. And then you design, because poetry is basically what I feel is a blend of ideas and imagination. So those two things which I'd like to blend in my poem as well, and as if I'm designing my own world.
Interesting. So go ahead and you can read that poem for us, and we'll see what we have here.
The title is Design. Plants are everywhere, and there are poems on the wall, more serene than sheets of ice, with a heavy dose of organic interior. Aroma of freshly ground coffee wafts in. The one-sentence song is drowned out. One-eyed bird is flapping on the windowsill. One-eyed bird is flapping on the windowsill. Long skirt that I smooth away with deft punctuations comes back with 4 large white tones, bending to receive elegies and ethos. The marble floor outshines the whites of the clouds. Shadows knife the steep staircase. A painting that lulls me, but hold you tight. A painting that lulls me, but hold you tight. You search around all those accidental glances. You search around all those accidental glances. I am trying to design my universe of green grass. I am trying to design my universe of green grass. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's a very interesting poem, and I love what you said about designing your own world and universe. From it seems like it's kind of a theme. Antonia was kind of developing that as well a little bit in her poem. So what do you think of Antonia's poem? How did you feel about that? Because it was a very similar inner world kind of thing.
Yeah, Antonia's poem I haven't read much, so it's difficult for me to make any comment on that. But yes, I think poets all over the world, many of us, sometimes we feel that we are thinking, align our thoughts with many people. So that way, yes, it is there.
Yeah, it was a good poem, and I think it was had a lot to do with the similar theme of creating a world, and and you know the inner world. She was reaching into the inner world instead of the outer world during a time of, during this time of global crises that we've had.
Yes.
And your poem is about sort of designing a world poetically.
Yeah.
It was very similar, kind of a similar worldview a little bit. Antonia, how do you feel about Gopal's poem? What were your impressions of design?
Well, I was listening to his poem, and in fact, as you said, I found something similar. I think we are all looking for our worlds.
Yeah.
Our
That lies inside. Yeah.
Yes. And so that's I did find a similitude between our poems.
Thought so too, as well.
So that's really lovely that we are staying in two different poles apart and still thinking or aligning in the same way. I mean, that's
Yes.
wonderful for the poles. Yeah.
I think it's interesting
Absolutely.
because we have Darlene's poem, which is deeply personal, and then we have your two poems, which are very much, worldview oriented kind of poems, and obviously we can all relate to, any of the three poems that were read. So I'm curious how Darlene feels about Antonia's and Gopal's poem.
I thought they were interesting in the way that they feel very connected. Honestly, you could put both of these together by themselves and they would feel like a fusion of longer poem written by the same poet. So I thought that was really interesting and that they were very global in observations of the world around them.
Interesting. That's quite an interesting observation about putting the two together and bringing them. Maybe we could do that sometime. You guys could do an interactive thing. That would be kind of interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And poets do write. I mean, many poets write combine. I mean, together. So it's almost like that.
It'd be interesting to see the two pieces put together. I mean, you're in different places in the anthology. We put the poets in alphabetical order and we divided into two sections. So it was a very long-winded process, but it was really worth to see that the book soar into the Amazon bestseller lists, and it's been on there for a couple of weeks now as the new release, hot new release. So we're really very proud of it, and I'm glad you all could be a part of that. So, Darlene, what are your overall impressions of the book so far? What you've looked at?
What I really enjoy is that it's so worldwide. There are so many writers from so many different places in the world, and I really, really enjoy that because then I get to see all these different perspectives in one book. And I think it's wonderful.
It was quite a fun process, and I also loved the fact that there were so many different, worldviews contrasting and comparing to each other in these in the anthology. That there was so much. It was kind of a unified effort to present the world literary scene, and that was one of our goals in the book. And we're going to keep doing this. So I hope everyone enjoys the book. Antonia, what are your impressions generally of the book so far? What you've read of it?
Well, I really was fascinated by one poem in particular, and I did write it on my Facebook page, is the Himalayas Morning of Bandari. And this is the reason why I was fascinated about this is because there is a link between this poem and a poem that I just translated from Italian to English for a friend poet of mine here in Italy. And so when I saw this poem and I read it, I felt like it wasn't something happening just by chance, but it was like there for me because I just opened the book and found it. So it was something that really pleasurable. And I have it right in front of me. If you want, I'll read it to you.
Sure, why not? Let's do it.
Okay, let's celebrate Bandari and his poem, Himalayas Morning. Every morning when Himalayas gives birth to the sun without screaming, bleeding panoramically in the heady weight of whiteness, the shadow fades away from me and sings the silent song of mystery. I also inflame in the celebration of creation every morning, little by little disappear as incense ashes on the altar of Himalayas. The reflected redness from Himalayas, every tree uses as lipstick without any hesitations. The ravens in the group of clouds surrender without any complaints. In the serene gorge of adolescent river, birds and living in branches, carrying the immense destination in their tiny wings. Sky stretches throughout the meadows, carpeted by wild flowers. Breeze thickens by Himalaya's warmth, slows its secret patrolling. I also float as the dandelion seeds, being into pieces one by one, far away from within. Every morning, I lose myself little by little and become Himalayas, when Himalayas gives birth to the sun, without screaming, bleeding panoramically, in the heady height of whiteness.
It is a very powerful poem. It's a naturalistic poem, but it has a lot of human qualities to it. It's very beautiful. I do love that.
Yes,
poem. So
yeah.
glad you published that in there.
Yeah,
Quite a thick poem. Full of
exactly as you
imagery.
said. I
Yeah.
found it really human and natural.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna
And the
read some.
description-
there's a message is also there in that particular poem. That whiteness of Himalayas.
Yes. It's a very deep poem. It's full of meaning. So I'm glad you could read that, Antonia. It was quite a poem. It's a very heavy-handed poem, I think. Deep, and it's got a lot of imagery in it that you could just analyze for hours and hours on end and still come up with
Right.
something new.
Right.
I'm gonna read our
It's very
mission-
visual.
Right. I'm going to read our mission statement here on the back of the book, and I want to see what you guys think of this. It's the mission statement of New York Parrot. Our primary mission is to bridge truth and relevant information gaps between the haves and the have-nots as we liberate people from ignorance of what is happening around them and beyond borders. We call this mission from our belief that peace, harmony, and prosperous cohabitation of humans can only exist when there is fair and transparent gathering and dissemination of relevant, fact-checked information for all humans, regardless of their socioeconomic and cultural status and orientation. What I want to ask all three of you guys, and I don't think Gopal has the anthology yet, but if he wants to chime in, that's fine. Do you think this book succeeds in that mission, and how do you think it relates to that mission?
Well, I have read many of the poems in this book, and also proses are there. And one of my fellow poets and writer, Shanko, has written in prose, and another is Shushan Thapa from Nepal. He has also written a poem. So, and also today I have listened to Antonia and Darlene. So if you look at these poems, and once I hear also today, I heard these two of these beautiful poets and their poems. So you can have a feeling that the whole world is in front of you, and you can do wonder if we disseminate, we meet each other, we disseminate our ideas, and also we can discuss our whatever the problems we have and how to overcome that. Because we have, we have a lot of demarcation like first world country, second world country, third world country, and they have their lot of issues and problems, which you mentioned, that socio-economic and cultural also. So I think this with whatever your initiative you have taken, the literary Parrot has taken, I think this has it can go a long way to bridge. Already I have read one poem in this, the bridging. Emily Grant, I think he has written a poem on this bridge. So I think bridging the ideas, bridging the knowledge, and bridging the whatever you have inside you. It may not be always you can understand at the first meeting, but once we read, because you are mentioning that you will continue this process, not the only one anthology, you will continue to publish anthologies in almost every year, and you have other TV program are also there. So we become familiar with a lot of poets all over the place, and there is no division of first world, second world, third world. We can mix very freely with each other. and
Mhm.
share our thoughts. So I think that is the biggest achievement which you try to achieve.
And you know, the socioeconomic and cultural status of a poet is not really relevant to their talents and their abilities. And I think that
Absolutely.
they,
You know,
you know, we have a mix of poets from all over who are just phenomenally talented. Some have less resources than others as far as, you know, books and things, but they're phenomenally talented. We have some great poets in here who really powerful wordsmiths who are in less developed countries. We have some that are in, you know, like in the United States, and you know, there's no real, you wouldn't even recognize a difference really in some cases. You know, you just see the starkness of the poetry. So let's ask Darlene the same question. How do you feel the anthology relates to the mission statement, and do you think it's a good success as far as the projection we're putting is into the world of what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, definitely. So going along with what Gopal said, there are no dividing lines between all of the writers featured. We're sharing pieces of, I would say, our innermost selves, and it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what our background is, what our childhood was like, et cetera, but we're all connected through our writing. And I think that the anthology does a great job of connecting all of us into just one chunk that everybody can read.
Right. And it's available for everybody at Amazon. So, and it's also on pothy.com, POTHI.com. If anybody out there in India would like to buy copies of that, it's available for a glossy edition of the book is available. So, Antonia, how do you feel about the mission statement?
Well, I really agree with what Darlene and Gopal said about the about that it connects perfectly to the mission statement of the book. And I would like to add that all of these experiences that we are putting together in this book are making us meet all together.
Mhm.
And so we are, because the only way to reach the mission statement is through experience. And we are all putting up front our experiences, because when we are writing poetry, we are writing of our inner world, but also of what we are experiencing. Like Darlene was speaking about her parents, her relatives, and her grandparents, and her ancestors, and whatever. And Gopal was speaking also about this inner world that I was speaking of, but through our own experiences. So we are meeting each other in these experiences, and we're getting to know each other. And this is a real good way to meet the to meet each other, and to avoid discrimination of any kind, because we are all the same in our experiences.
Right, and we're very much part of a global world these days, and with you know, interconnected through Zoom, and you can get to know
Yes.
so many different kinds of people just, you know, listening in on these kind of programs like this one or like any other poetry program. Poetry speaks to the innermost self. I mean, it's really pulling out of the depth what, you know, you as a person are and what we all are as people. It's connecting to that commonality, I think, and I do believe, you know, you said quite a bit when you said that poetry is an experience of itself, and that's binding people, you know, that we relate, we become a community of people through poetry. So I think that's a great observation. We have about a remaining, you know, 5 minutes or so. So I'll go back to Darlene. How do you feel related with the poets in the book?
I feel related to any writer, no matter what the genre is, because we all have the same goal. We all want our work to be appreciated, to be heard, to be enjoyed. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're writing literary fiction or if you're writing sci-fi or fantasy. I would say that pretty much all writers have the same goal, and it's to have our work appreciated and to be remembered.
Right. Absolutely. I think that that's one of the good things about books is that you put yourself out there and it sticks to the world, whatever. We don't know what's going to hit next, and become the big thing. It could be anything, and but we're all trying out there to get our work out there as much as possible and tell our stories and get the world to recognize us in some way and to hear us and what we have to say. And so that's definitely a good observation. So Antonia, how did you feel related? You mentioned um the Himalayas poem. Is there any other poems that stuck out to you as far as the book itself?
Well, at the
Or any of the
moment,
prose too?
well, I also read some proses, but
Mhm.
for example, the last harmony of Sanka Sen, I thought was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think this is more about a Thai prose, but it's very, very nice. Last Harmony. I invite you all to read it because I think it's a wonderful experience of even everyday life.
And the names are all in alphabetical order, and as I said earlier, they're divided into two sections of the guests that have been on the program, and then those who were on the website. So if anybody's having trouble finding Sanka Sen's poem or prose piece, his
Yeah, the
story,
findings on page 130, and
130.
it's called The Last Harmony of Sanka Sen, and I really liked that. I enjoyed it. Yes.
That's great. It's wonderful. I mean, it's a great
Mhm.
anthology for anybody out there who's wondering what kind of work is being done literary
Yeah,
wise in the world. I think that anybody that buys a copy of this will get a good handy sample of world literature today, out there being promoted and worked on and being discussed. And these people are not, I mean, writers in this book are not just, most of them are also actively engaged in their communities and the world stage and trying to put positive social change and work with some of the crises we're facing and binding people and bringing us together. We have everything from the deeply personal work of Darlene to your guys, Gopal and Antonia, about creating worlds. And so it's just a really amazing and impressive collection of work. So if anybody out there hasn't bought a copy of this beautiful, The Literary Parrot, it's $18 on Amazon. And we would love for you to have a copy and get a great sample of this literature being promoted today in the world. This has been the New York Parrot Literary Corner, and I'm Dustin Pickering. And we had Gopal Lahiri, Antonia Petron, and Darlene Campos today discussing the literary parrot. It's been fabulous talking with you guys. Thank you all for joining us.
thank you,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Dustin. Yeah, yeah.
Lovely for me as well.
Yes,
Lovely.
and
I think we can
thank you so
inspire
much.
each other. Yeah.
You can support this project by donating to paypal.me/nyparrot. That link will be on the YouTube, and subscribe to our channel, everybody out there who's viewing right
Yeah.
now. If you have not subscribed, please do subscribe. We will love to have more subscribers. We're looking for 1 million total subscribers. We want to show the world that literature is a power of itself and that it is a wonderful, wondrous thing and a powerful thing. So please, everyone, subscribe, encourage friends, family, everyone you know to subscribe to our channel and get updated on our content. And again, you can reach me, Dustin Pickering, if you want to be a guest on our show at Literary Corner at newyorkparrot.com. And that will be my email, and you can just address me as Dustin. I'm pretty informal, so anyway, so it's been wonderful talking with you all today, and I'm glad you could join us. And as again, just subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and encourage
Yeah.
others to subscribe. And we'll definitely keep in touch. We'll keep this community moving, and I look forward to you guys submitting in the future to the website, as well as keeping in touch with us. So it's been pleasant talking with you this morning. It's morning for me. Some of you guys are in the afternoon, and some other. I think Darlene here is pretty close to me. She's in Texas as well, so she's also early in the morning. But
But in
thank you
India,
so much.
it's a evening.
And then I believe in Italy, it's sort of the afternoon at time.
Yeah,
late afternoon.
it's 6 o'clock. It's around 6 o'clock in the evening.
Excellent.
And in India, it is 9 o'clock in the night. 9
So we had a
PM.
little bit of an interesting time, you know, kind of a mind puzzle here about the time. We will be doing another series of this book in December, so keep in touch, everybody out there with us, and make sure to know to keep you know a good watch on us to make sure when we get this book out, when we do, you will be aware of it. So it'll be in December 1st. We'll have our second series. This is just series 1, as it says at the top here. Series 1, The Literary Parrot. This is a wonderful collection. Everyone, please do buy this book. It's a wonderful series of poetry, 249 pages. Thank you all for joining us today. This has been The Literary Parrot. And
Parrot
Thank
TV
you.
Thank you.
Voice for
Thank you
Humanity.
very much.